17 minutes before the top of the hour. It's always a pleasure to have this brother on the show, Mr. Jeff Johnson, with 3 things you need to know. What's up, Jeff?
Hey, what's up, man? How are you?
Man, everything's good. We blessed, man. We blessed. We holding it down for our homie Rickey Smiley. Y'all continue to pray for him. He's with his daughter Erin, who was shot the other day. She is doing well, recovering from a successful surgery. So just keep the prayers up.
No, we're super thankful for that, and I think that's where I want to be this morning, because there's just some conversations that we need to have, and I know that many of us over the last several months, in particular, have been so focused on this elevated rebellion around white supremacy that I don't know if we've been totally honest about all of the ways that white supremacy impacts our own communities. And so in fighting police brutality and excessive force and white supremacist systems, we got to be honest about all the ways that those things manifest themselves in our community, because we don't often even really deal with what over 380 years of legal slavery in America and only 150 years since it was legally ended does to who we are, our psyche, how we treat one another, how we engage, and how those systemic issues within our communities impact us. And so, man, I think about Erin, and I think about Rick being with her in Houston now, but then I also think about 87 people shot in Chicago this weekend.
Yeah. 17
fatally. 87 people, 17 died in Chicago over the 4th of July weekend. And that's on the tail end of a funeral that was just held for a 1-year-old baby in Chicago, Sincere Gaston. And now they're getting ready for the funeral of a 7-year-old. A 10-year-old was killed in D.C. this weekend. And Jesus, the young man's name was Devon McNeil. And man, his grandfather is somebody that was working to deal with anti-violence in D.C. And so I want to be clear about something. Number one, black people are not more violent against black people statistically than any other group of people are towards each other. And so this is not some inherent evil that black people have. What it is, however, and why I'm frustrated even about some of the narrative that we're hearing, is I listened to the police chief, the head of the police in Chicago, talking about David Brown, who's the superintendent of police, said we should revamp electronic monitoring programs. Electronic monitoring programs is clearly not working. We will not stop until this violence ends. And listen, I get that you have to deal with the crime when it's happening, but if we aren't dealing with the fact that it is systemic poverty that is creating this mass violence, because how many times y'all seen this level of violence in the suburbs? How often are people getting shot like this in rural communities? And there is a urban violence reality that is about a lack of resources, a lack of opportunity, a lack of education, over addiction, and systems that really aren't about building communities, but they're about destabilizing them. And so if we're not serious about poverty as the goal, even as we're policing, then we miss the point. And so for those of you that are like, well, Jeff, we don't need to be talking about this right now because we need to deal with the issues of white supremacy that around the police, you need to shut the hell up, because we can walk and chew gum at the same time. And so I want to big up the hundreds of brothers and sisters that have consistently been on the ground with no media hype, with little resources, with understaffed, that are fighting issues of violence, of de-ganging, of ensuring that when system impacted people come home, that they don't get caught back up in the same thing. And these brothers and sisters are doing this on a daily basis for decades with no fanfare. And then you got other people that talk about, when we start talking about Black Lives Matter, they were like, well, don't Black Lives Matter when y'all doing it to each other? You need to shut the hell up, too, because the issue is that we've been fighting the impacts of systemic racism and white supremacy that play themselves out in the realities of our community since the day we got here. And so we need to understand that this fight against white supremacy is on multiple levels, that while much of this is not our fault, it is our responsibility to fix it. And that for my brothers in particular, that are existing in these crews and in this street and in these gangs, I know y'all are soldiers in your own right, but we can't fight white supremacy by being white supremacy. And the only thing that happens when you're fighting each other for blocks where we don't own anything, and when we have crews warring against each other, where civilians are being shot, sometimes at higher cases than actual soldiers are, all we're doing is walking out the plan of white supremacy with a black face on it. And so if we're going to be serious about this movement to crush white supremacy, it can't just be tearing down statues. It can't just be removing people from office. It can't just be defunding the police. It's got to be removing a spirit of white supremacy from our very beings, so that when we look at each other and we talk to each other and even when we argue with each other, we are attacking white supremacy by dealing with the fact that we got a shared destiny and a shared creation. And if we don't get to that point by ending issues of poverty caused by white supremacy, this violence is not going to end, y'all. Those are three things I got. Absolutely love y'all. Hit me at Jeff's Nation on all social media. Want to hear what you think. And if y'all know people that are doing work right now to address these issues of violence in our community and to end poverty, let us know so that we can share those with folks wherever they are. Y'all take care.
Jeff, appreciate you, my man. Thank you, my brother.
Absolutely.
Follow Jeff Johnson at Jeff's Nation. There it is, the Rickey Smiley Morning Show.